everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Summer and Cynthia show. I am Summer. This is
Cynthia,
Cynthia. And we're back.
for more, because there's still more COVID. Chicago's the hot spot right now. We are like 1 in 15. I am not going to the grocery store anytime soon.
We are also pretty popular. I know we broke the record for the highest amount of cases in the state of Texas. Woohoo! Grow governor. And El Paso is really hitting hard. I think their statistic is 1 out of 20 people have COVID. So yeah, everybody continue to be diligent about this virus and just stay cautious, wear your mask, and try to stay indoors as much as you can. But more importantly, if you have to be out, please respect everyone and wear a mask, be safe, keep your distance. So Cynthia, what have you been up to lately?
Hey, staying inside, I'll say that. Earlier this week, I was contacted again by an organization called Indivisible Chicago, and it's locally, well, it's part of, I think, of a national network of sorts.
Yeah.
And these are folks who write postcards to swing states and special election states. And so they will target, little congressional seats that are going on in the middle of the year, just to give them a little bit more attention. And I did 200 postcards. They were sent into Pennsylvania back in, I completed them by early October, actually. It was really rewarding. It was a bit of a way, because Illinois is such a dominant state, it's never like we're ever going to swing in any direction. So it was a way to kind of contribute to the Pennsylvania momentum. Very positive messages, just really reminding people how important it is to vote. So I'm going to be doing more for Georgia for their January special.
Now, are the postcards, are they blank, or do you compose a message, or how does that work?
Yeah, they come blank, and you're given a script, and by golly, you'd be a fool to deviate from the script. And then they give you a list. Yeah, it's just a lot of writing. Sometimes the words get really long. When you have a word like Pennsylvania that you have to put in. It's kind of amazing how long we go without writing. So, and then we pony in our own stamps. So 200 stamps, and I think a stamp for a postcard is 35 cents. So it's like $70.
Oh man, that's awesome. So here's an opportunity for us, if we feel compelled to do so, to maybe participate and send some love notes to the great citizens of Georgia.
Google postcards to swing states, I think is kind of what the organization is called, and get involved. If not for Georgia, then for some future election, because turnout's so important.
Cynthia, that is a great segue into the topic of today. We both recently watched a web documentary entitled Suppress 2020, The Fight to Vote. And it is all about the backdrop of the election in 2018 in the state of Georgia between Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams. And so through this documentary, it is hardcore facts. You can't really argue with it. But more importantly, it educates you on just how a lot of these decisions are made, what are the consequences of said decision, and in preparation for leading into the presidential and all the local races that took place in November. But even more so, it's important, Georgia, to pay attention to this documentary once more as you guys prepare for the runoff elections taking place on Tuesday, January 5th. Any immediate thoughts, Cynthia?
Oh my gosh, it was so powerful. And what I found perhaps the most valuable is these interviews with people who are in fairly low-ranking, municipal clerk sorts of positions, had been superintendents of schools, and all of a sudden find that they had been voting in the same place for a period of time, and literally the deconstruction of voting infrastructure, no longer that you can vote in a certain place, but rather by virtue of how an area was defined, largely by its ethnic makeup, its the density of persons of color. They just systematically removed so many places to vote. And so the documentary does a great job of educating, but in a very storytelling way.
Absolutely.
The erosion and the disenfranchisement in all of the different ways that they did that. And because it was kind of sneaky, and I don't use sneaky that often, but this is all pretty intentional.
Absolutely. Everything is deliberate. And we actually kind of have real life cases and scenarios taking place as we have a president who is having a hard time dealing with the results of the election. It has been making a case of trying to challenge that. So we see this in real time. But going back to the documentary, and also we'll do you a favor and have it in the show notes. So feel free to click on that when you're done watching. But, it was frivolous, malicious actions by these officials. Initially, when you're talking about particularly polling places and the almost frivolous ways of deciding when and how to close them, they say it was a monetary thing, but they mentioned how it costs about roughly $4,000 to operate a polling place, where you'll turn around and spend $18,000 on Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like what is more important? I'm not saying holiday decor is not, but we could certainly trim it down the fat if it's a monetary or physical issue.
No,
it's totally not. And since the year of 2012, there's been 214 polling places that have been shut down.
That's big.
I mean, it is. And what happens and why this is kind of a big deal, if you take out the local polling areas in your neighborhood, that means it's more of an obstacle or an effort to go and travel to the next closest one. And they were purposely far to be inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us are workers who are hourly, who don't have the benefit of either a long extended lunch, or maybe I work from home today, or call in, and so you have all these obstacles and hurdles that are coming in the way of us just trying to exercise our God-given right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
so it's an excellent documentary. I encourage you. It's 45 minutes long, mostly.
Yeah.
Great job by the people who put it together. It's a nonprofit that does it, and they have other sort of advocacy, educational documentaries. Again, links in the show notes. Why this is important is because this whole injustice is partly what fueled Stacey Abrams to become the national force that she is today. And I think also helped everybody understand how important it was for the mail-in ballot, the absentee ballot, get the ballot and physically bring it in yourself. And that's what led to the incredible turnout this year.
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams in 2018 suffered a heartbreaking close call that I think many people are still quite skeptical about today.
Governor Kemp had put roughly 53,000 registrations on hold leading up to that election.
As Secretary of State, right?
Yes, there's no conflict of interest there either.
No.
And of course, what we found is 80% of these were people of color. And the election was decided by roughly 54,000 votes.
Yeah.
And so everything is deliberate and intentional. And I've always said after that election, it was stolen from her. She should be governor. And I unapologetically lean into that. And I think this documentary will also highlight and illustrate why, it really left a bad taste in our mouths. And again, we see it again. It's not like we've learned and we'll never do it again, but we're literally in real time watching it be done before our eyes.
And now America, has as much at stake in these two Georgia special election runoffs, or general election runoff and a special election runoff, as just the people of Georgia do. It isn't just about their representation; it's about the balance of power in the United States Senate, and
Correct.
Ultimately how that would lead to President-elect Biden having a fully functioning government to begin picking up the pieces of what has been so dysfunctional, not just over the last 4 years, but going back into the Obama administration when the Senate
absolutely
determined to reduce the amount of progress as a country that we make. Bipartisan progress usually means that both sides want to come together and hammer out a compromise. And there's just been too much no compromise coming from the Senate. So here, all of America has this opportunity to step forward to a brighter day if the two Senate seats go the right way. So the two Senate seats in Georgia are up. There will be an election in early January, January 5th. And we have a special election, true special election. Senator Kelly Loeffler was in a special election that took place in November. And in Georgia, you need to get past 50% of the vote in order to be identified as the winner. And in this particular case, because she had been appointed just at the end of 2019 to fill a seat vacated by her ailing predecessor, she was
appointed, meaning we did not elect her there. But anyway,
yes, right. She was appointed by the governor who beat Stacey Abrams, who had been the Secretary of State. You're starting to see the path here. So Kelly Loeffler, very, very wealthy, has encountered all sorts of ethical challenges, and frankly will be challenged for those transgressions well into the future, whether she wins or not. She was challenged by 18 people and Reverend Raphael Warnock, who, so here they are all going forward in this special election. And so with 20 people on the ballot, nobody got to 50%. Actually, Reverend Warnock got to 32.9% with 1.6 million votes. Kelly Loeffler came in far behind with 1.2. Now, you take away those 18 other candidates who were polling 10, 20, 50,000 votes by virtue of their geography or their constituency. And it's expected to be a tight race, and money is pouring into Georgia. Yes, and then we have David Perdue and Jon Ossoff. Why don't you tell a little bit about why it is that they are that they hit a runoff as well?
The same scenario, both were under 50%. And I actually had a chance to witness some of the debates. And I admit I'm not well versed with them. It was highlights of just how basically, the incumbent, it's status quo all over again.
He's a 70-year-old white man who has been in the Senate and has very little to accomplishment to show for his time.
Absolutely. And so, now it's a situation of you have a legitimate race here. And because you literally haven't done anything during your time and in power, so to speak, I think it is time for you to leave. Yeah. And that is why a lot of us who are outside the state are keeping our eyes, on this for the reasons that Cynthia had mentioned before, because essentially what happens in Georgia very much affects what happens to the rest of us. Yeah. So it's really, really just uplifting the people of Georgia and helping them fight and vote for what's right.
Exactly. So David Perdue has filled a whole 6-year term because they came so close. That neither one of them got to 50%. David Perdue got to 49.7% with 2.4 million votes. Jon Ossoff, who was only 33 years old, and he had run for the U.S. House seat in Georgia, a U.S. House seat, 2 years ago. He came in with 47.9% of the vote. So the difference was about 90,000 votes, give or take. It's close, no question. So we'll see about that. The idea, though, that a 33-year-old is taking on a 70-year-old is really important. And that 70-year, we have some incredibly competent, smart, hardworking septuagenarians in government and in business and on the media. We do. And they're smart and they have seen history and they're able to create context. And then we have Senator David Perdue, a member of the United States Senate, considered the world's most deliberative body, who facetiously so sophomorically and just reflecting more on himself than anything else, stumbles through Senator Kamala Harris, now Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's name. And he has to make fun of it because really that's funny. It's 2020 and that's a cheap laugh. And
it's a lot. It's that good old boy, mentality. This is our club and we have very little regard for what's outside of our norm or what we consider the right to be here. And I happily support Asaf in this race because number one, I think it is time for change all around. And a lot of that change will be nurtured on the local ground. Mm-hmm. Age isn't really, for me, a factor. It more importantly, it is about the passion and the work that you have done and willing to do. And if you appear to give a damn about getting into this work, whereas you take a Purdue who just, it is my right to be here because I've always done it. No, that is not a qualifier any longer. And so I'm excited about that race in particular. You're so arrogant and cocky and feel like you don't have to be accountable for your record when you do, sir. You owe Georgians and the American people an explanation of why you deserve to keep your seat, which you don't.
Yes. And if the whole notion is that that it's important that there be bipartisan respect in the United States Senate, he kind of blew his chance. He blew his chance to be a statesman. So
correct.
That's the end of my little micro rant on what's going on in Georgia. I'm going to keep my eye on it though, and I will do my best to write with my best handwriting 200 postcards to people who are identified
I'm going to try that too.
Yeah. Because they need to turn out another 5 million in the middle, the first part of January after everybody sort of passed the holidays. Everybody in Georgia needs to go vote again.
Yeah, we've got to keep them uplifted and monitoring that situation and try to support in all the ways that we can. I think I want to also take up that charge, Cynthia, and practice my horrible penmanship and send some postcards. There's also a great organization that Stacey Abrams is very much part of, and that's fairfight.com. And it is all about just voter education, participation, just creating awareness. A lot of this, we are learning a lot of this for the first time, and that's okay. I think the powers that be love that we were basking in ignorance and not really engaged and only for the sexy elections, but no more of that. It is people like the work that Stacey and so many people are doing and the people behind Fair Fight and countless other organizations that are trying to get us prepared, get us educated, more importantly, register so that we can participate. Do not let anyone tell you you don't have the right to vote.
Oh my gosh, well said. Woo! All right. The Summer and Cynthia show takes on almost any topic, including getting out to vote wherever you happen to live, whatever the election is, whenever you encounter one. This should be everyone's obligation and duty going forward. That's why we're here.
Go vote. In Georgia.
In Georgia. And in your next municipal election as well. All right, that's what we're talking about here in the fall of 2020. Elections, staying safe, wearing your masks, and reaching out and connecting. The other thing you can do if you don't have time to do postcards and you don't have some money to send to get out the vote efforts and or supporting Stacey's organization is just, if you've got friends in Georgia, make sure you're connecting with them. Don't get into politics, just simply asking if they think they're going to vote and they're going to show up in the election or order an absentee ballot. I mean, again, they're going to have to go through this exercise one more time of delivering an election in the middle of a pandemic. Another one.
I know. Right after the turn of the new year. So we are again keeping the state of Georgia lifted. Yes. We support you.
Yes.
And do not forget to check out Suppress 2020, the fight to vote. Link is in the show notes. If you have any advice or input or just comments or questions, hey, there's email address right below. Send us a note. Tell us what's on your mind. and ways that you are helped fighting to protect our democracy, because this is our America, people.
You know it. All right. Take care. We'll see you later.
Peace.
Ciao.